I'm halfway there with some.
I can imagine,
Guys.
Okay, good evening again. We are back in, whoops, we're not on, we're not back. Right, good evening again. We are back in open session at 7:31 p.m. Item 7 on our agenda is discussion and possible action on items discussed in closed session. Is there anything to be taken up at this point? All right, then we will move on to item 8, discussion and possible action items. Item 8 is code/compliance policy and procedures. I'm not going to participate in this part of the discussion, so I'm going to back away. If someone else would like to run the meeting, you're welcome to do so, but I will not participate in the discussion.
Guess I'm at a bit of a loss since you're integral to the compliance policy and procedure. But anyway, I guess that would fall to the clerk to look to seek a nomination for a temporary chairman of the meeting. Is that right, Counselor?
Yes.
I believe I stepped over you on that the last meeting. I apologize for that.
Do we have a recommendation for a temporary sitting chairman?
I recommend Michael Dewar.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
So we have a motion and a second to nominate Trustee Durr to chair the meeting temporarily. Voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Have it as carrying 4-0.
All right, thank you, Mr. Clerk. So I'm not really sure why this is on the agenda. We have a policy in place that was passed back in January of 2015. Mr. President, are you going to remain up at the board or are you going to step down?
Would you like me to step down?
I would think that that would be appropriate if you're not going to participate.
Fine.
The procedure is in your packet. I don't, it's about a page and a half. I can read it if the trustees so desire. Essentially, if a complaint is filed, it's to be filed with the clerk. In summary, the complaint is to be reviewed by the, at the time, chairman and now president, and if he so sees that the property is likely to be out of compliance, then he signs the complaint, he or she signs the complaint, forwards it on to the building inspector for review. The building inspector reviews the complaint and the property if necessary and whatever the case may be. And then with that, if there is a violation to be determined, then a complaint is prepared and to be sent out to the homeowner. Mr. Building Inspector, you're here.
Yes, sir.
Are you here to address this issue?
I am.
By all means, step up, because we're all at a bit of a loss.
So, I guess long story short.
Just bring that mic up a little bit, if you will. Let me just, go ahead. Why don't you brief us on what this is all about today?
So, long story short, when we were approached at the time by Chairman Merrick, to come in and give a proposal as a contracted inspection agency, one of the things that we did propose was tweaking the non-compliance. And in regards, it was to work hand in hand with the town staff So we would be doing the investigations only. So we would receive the complaint, go out, do the investigation, take the pictures. We would turn that into the town staff at the time. They would write the letters, mail the letters out. They would keep all the documentation of the non-compliance. We'd hit the 30 days. I'd either get a phone call or an email from the town staff to do a reinspection. Then I would go out and reinspect the property. I'd give a report, and if they were still in non-compliance, the town staff would then send out the letters or have the citations issued. So it was kind of it was a group effort between, the building inspection and the town staff, for a few reasons. It's nice to have the town staff involved, with, the whole code compliance, non-compliance issue. And it helped, the code compliance is kind of a huge task, so it was nice to split the duties between myself and the town employees. So when we were contracted and we started with the town in June 1st, 2017, we kind of worked through some of these things with Kathy at the time and Terry. And I mean, if you went back and looked at the non-compliance reports, this was all kept by the town staff,
Right.
all this information. So you can even see in here, Jared will re-inspect, clerk requested inspector to re-inspect. So it was, like I said, it was a group effort between myself and the town staff.
Sure.
So that's I guess what I was hoping that we could still keep in place.
So there's probably a number of things that have fallen through the cracks as we've had turnover in the office portion of the staff. So maybe a quick review of this is appropriate, and we can iron some things out and get this back on the slate.
Sure.
So the first step is that all compliance inspection requests need to be submitted in writing by a person, filed with the town clerk, and signed by the town chairman prior to the staff conducting a site inspection. If the person wants to be kept anonymous, then they shall be directed to speak with the town board member and request a town board member to write the complaint and sign it on their behalf. The town board members are not required to serve as the complainant for a person, but may do so at their discretion.
Mr. Gord, can I stop you on that one right there?
Sure.
First sentence is exactly what should be done. There were numerous times when the ex-chairman was chairman, John Merrick, he did send out the inspector and did not even have written complaints.
Well, I'm not gonna sit here and talk about what happened with John Merrick.
Well, if
He hasn't been the president or the chairman in 2 years.
correct, but if we have any complaints or any non-compliance reports that are still out there, we should see if there's actually written complaints to them.
Okay, fair enough. But I'm sure that there's a significant number of complaints out there that have been made that have not been signed by our existing president. Because it's funny that this comes up, because I think it's a year ago right now that I asked him to prepare a report for all the outstanding non-compliant complaints that were pending his signature. And for several months, he committed to preparing that report, and to date, we still have not received that report. I understand that he stepped down for this. I don't know why. That's his own personal choice, but now we find ourselves in a precarious situation that he can't answer for that. But that request was made for me, and I believe it was the second meeting of February, coincidentally enough. I made it over and over and over again for months and months and months, because I continued to receive calls from residences who had made complaints in person with the clerk's office, and quite frankly, the current president was refusing to sign them. But I'm not gonna go back to if we have complaints out there now where there is no complaint that originate to Chairman Merrick, then by all means, we can look into that and reinstate that.
Well, that would be the first step I feel we should do.
Well, that's fine. Do you have a specific complaint
Yeah.
we don't have a non-compliant list right now.
No, we should get a list.
Okay, I think we're gonna get to that down in the procedure, and I'm sure that Brandon will get on that lickety-split. I don't think this has been called to his attention previously. So that's step number one. Step number two is that the town clerk shall pass the complaints, if signed by the town chairman, to the building inspector to perform a field inspection. Note non-compliance items, reference code sections, and take photos. Step 3 is the building inspector, if violations are found, shall give notice to the non-compliance, shall give notice of the non-compliance by certified mail service to the owner and/or occupant of the property, giving them 30 days to make corrections. Information required is property owner name and mailing address, address of the property inspected, date of the inspection, list of non-compliance items, corrective action to be taken, and a copy of the town code section being enforced. A copy of the letter and photos will be sent to the town chairman and town clerk. And obviously in every section here, that would be village president now and village clerk, but we can get this updated. Step 4 is prior to the 30-day requirement, an extension may be requested with an appearance before the town board. Step number 5 is a follow-up inspection is done after the time limit expires. If not in compliance and time has lapsed, the issues will be referred to the sheriff's deputy for a citation to be issued. Once a citation is issued, the matter is deemed to be in court and will only be addressed at the request of the town attorney. Step number 6, a report from the inspector will be forwarded each month to the town chairman and the town clerk by email with a status of non-compliance files. Step 7, the town clerk will bring each month a non-compliance report and files to the town board meetings for review for the sole purpose of advising town board members on the status of the matters. Step number 8, if the property becomes non-compliance within 6 months after being brought into compliance, the issuance of citations shall be commenced by the sheriff's department without the necessity of prior notice being given. Step 9, any staff deviation from this procedure will be cleared with the town board beforehand. And then it goes into the contract, and that's about 11 pages long with inspection services, so we don't need to go into that. So, other than what was noted by Trustee German, which we can review the current non-compliance issues to make sure that there is a complaint on file, and if not, then we'll address that. And then I would ask that Clerk Bledsoe get up to speed on the former reports. They were in a very nice format that we got used to. Certainly, if you would like to tweak that format, I think the board would be open to that. But I don't think there's any gaps in this process.
Well, when we originally came in as the potential inspection agency, we worked with Chairman Merrick and Kathy to change some of this policy, and that's why it was written in our contract that we would do the non-compliance investigations, but not, you know, from like halfway through note 3 down would be handled by the staff. So it's in our contract that we would do the investigations, but that's it.
Well, I didn't read your whole contract before this, but this is the policy before the
I know
board.
that contract was approved by the town board.
Perhaps, but then we'll need to update this policy to match that contract.
Right.
So
And
what
I think
is-
that's what we're looking to do, is just find out. So in October, I received the staffing on compliance.
Got
Did
it.
my investigations, turned them over to the president, but there was kind of a loss because the staff had changed, so our normal procedure was kind of out the window.
Well, and there's a loss because,
And I don't agree that's what your contract says, and you know that, and we've written a letter and it's in the packet.
oh,
You can say that that's what your contract says, but that's what we're here about.
very
That's
good.
what it does say.
Pardon?
So could you give us some input on this?
It's in my letter. It's a personally confidential letter. It's in your packet.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I
It
didn't get
goes
to that.
on and on about the ordinances and the policy and the contract, and that's the rub. He negotiated one thing, and the policies and the ordinances and the contract say something else.
That contract was approved by the village, or the town board.
Okay, well, we're not gonna get into that right now and have this discussion between you
Sure.
and
I mean, and I don't want this to go south. I mean, I enjoy working with all of you, and I have no issues, so it was a very smooth policy and a very smooth, you know, the whole non-compliance thing, working with Terry and Kathy and everything was very smooth. You know, I would do the inspections, I'd turn it in, they would keep the reports,
Yep,
you know, it was, you know, it was a very smooth thing. Staff was involved, I was involved, we worked together.
So the attorney's letter is 4 pages, and I'm not gonna waste everybody's time while I sit here and read it now and then. I would have to compare that to the contract, so I apologize for that. If somebody else has input who did read it, I'd be certainly open to discussing that, but otherwise we could table this to the next meeting.
Well, some of the issues here are, why they haven't been done is because there is a difference of opinion here as to how it's supposed to be handled. Isn't that correct, Jared?
That's exactly correct.
Right.
I understand.
But this is why you said in the beginning, you're talking about none of these complaints have been handled, but this is kind of the reason why they haven't been handled, because there's a conflict here as to what to do with it.
Well, no, that's not true.
Because the ordinance says one thing and their contract says a different.
No, I understand that part of it, but the issues that I have with them not being handled is they're not being signed by the president. And he has refused to prepare a report for me that he committed that he would prepare for me on all of the open issues that he has received but hasn't signed. That's step number 1, and that's not being done, and that doesn't have anything to do with Jared's contract.
Is that true?
But
Yeah, the only complaints I've received that have been signed off were from Mike Borchard.
I mean, step number 1 of the policy is all compliance inspection requests need to be submitted in writing by a person, filed with the town clerk, and signed by town chairman prior to staff conducting a site inspection. If the person wants to be kept anonymous, they shall be directed to speak with a town board member and request the town board member write the complaint and sign it on their behalf. The town board members are not required to serve as the complainant for a person, but may do so at their discretion. So what I contended at the very beginning of this discussion is we have many non-compliant complaints from residences that have not moved off that first step because the current president refuses to sign them and refuses to provide a report that he committed he would do, and that has nothing to do with the.
Well, I guess that's what I'm asking. Is there a reason for that?
I don't know, he recused himself, so now we can't ask.
Well, I guess that's kind of the bottom line here, isn't it?
Well, no, that doesn't have anything to do with the building inspector.
Okay.
The ones I have received, I've done the investigation, I've got pictures and
The ones
files.
that
It's
are
just that reports haven't been written because that's what we had I guess the disagreement on, where
Right.
it gets handled after that.
Okay.
But the ones I have received are, they're ready to be sent out, they just need letters and, the investigation.
So some have been signed, in other words.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think I have like 6 or 7 of them or something.
Do you know how many more there are?
signed by
I have
whom?
no idea.
Okay.
Signed by whom?
The village president.
Because I thought you said the only
You
one
just
who had
said you
signed
didn't
was
have any
signed by
from-
Borchard.
No, yeah, they were written, they were written by Mike and signed off by the president. Those are the only ones I have. So I don't know how many more there are.
So he has been doing it then, Mr. Dover, right?
Well, there's many that he hasn't because I get the complaints about them, and you've complained about them too. The last time we talked about this months ago.
Well, let's get that put together, have Mr. Bledsoe put that together.
Mr. Bledsoe put what together?
Which ones have written?
He wouldn't have any record of them.
Have written complaints. Well, there should be a record of a written complaint.
Well, that would be nice, but I'm pretty sure that they're not here. Because I asked the last clerk to look for them and they were gone.
Oh,
I can provide you with the ones I have.
Well, those are the ones that are signed. I don't think that those are in contention of what we're referring to. So anyway, would we like to table this to try to understand the disagreement between the town attorney and building inspectors and table this to either the next meeting or the second meeting in March, whatever is the pleasure of the board?
The disagreement is, I don't know where he says, I mean, if he wants to tell me where I'm wrong in my documents, He's saying they cut a different deal,
I understand that.
so you're not gonna resolve it between he and I.
No, I'm not gonna
They
try to
promise-
resolve it between he and I, but I'm gonna look at what your comments are and look how they relate to the contract. I mean, I feel I at least owe it to you and to him to come a little better prepared next time. Unless, the board wants to settle it out now and make a decision, then so be it.
I'm not suggesting that.
Nor am I. But it's up
I'm
to the
just trying
pleasure of the board.
I'm trying to narrow what the real issue is.
Yes, the real issue, as I understand what I'm hearing, is that there's a disagreement between the contract that the board signed and the policy that's currently in place.
No. The policy, in my opinion, the contract and the ordinances all read the same.
I understand.
He cut a deal outside of the contract, the ordinances, and the policy, claiming that the staff was going to do some of what he's contracted to do.
And that was negotiated with Chairman Merrick. I mean, I'll be honest with you.
So let me ask you this.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I wasn't there. I just want to make sure they understand what they're looking for when they read it.
So let me ask you this question straight out then.
Yep.
Does the policy and your contract agree?
Our contract says that we would do the non-compliance investigations.
Okay?
So in my opinion, it doesn't. I mean, we do the investigations,
So-
so we've been doing the investigations.
You feel that his comments, the contract, and the policy don't all agree?
Correct.
So he doesn't agree with you?
Okay.
That's fine.
I mean, it's,
Okay, we're gonna have another rub here, but, because you're talking about a deal that was cut.
Well, I don't care,
outside.
listen, I don't care about the deal you cut with somebody else.
Well, that's
That's not
what this is
here.
all about.
Well, but,
and it wasn't a deal, it was talked about, it was written in our contract that way so that we would do the investigations.
all that matters to me is what's in the contract versus the policy.
Yeah, it says non-compliance investigation.
Okay,
So, in my opinion, like, anything from step 3 down would be a step.
I get it. but with all due respect, I'm not gonna take your word for it.
Okay.
I'll read the contract, I'll read the attorney's comments, but whatever deals you cut with somebody else who's not even here anymore, isn't gonna
I
matter.
don't feel it was a deal, I mean, it was a good collaboration with the staff level and us to make sure the non-compliance got handled in a very efficient manner, very timely manner. So I'll be honest, if I get a stack of 25 non-compliance, it's gonna take me a long time to go through those. Right,
Hopefully you won't get that big of a stack.
But I'm just, so this way, I would do the inspections, I'm out in the field, I turn it into, the clerk, she'd write the letters, it was a great thing, and that's why we had it written that we would do the investigations.
Okay, take a look. I'll make a motion to table this to, wait, is it,
25th?
well, do we want to take the next meeting, or do you want to wait until the 25th? Are you okay waiting till the 25th? It'll be a shorter meeting.
Yeah, I mean, it's up to
Because
you
it won't
guys.
have a plan commission.
Up to you guys.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to table this to the meeting on March 25th.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second, no discussion on the table. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?